Have you ever wondered what it would take for the Vatican to declare an entire religious movement outside the unity of the Catholic Church? What kind of decision could shake millions of Catholics around the world and reopen a conflict that has been simmering for more than half a century? Well, that's exactly what has happened. In one of the most dramatic moments of Pope Leo XIV's young papacy, the Vatican announced the excommunication of 6 bishops connected to the Society of St. Pius X, better known as the SSPX. But the story didn't stop there. In a move that stunned Catholics around the world, the Vatican also warned that lay members who formally embraced the group's schismatic position and continue to identify with its teachings could also place themselves outside full communion with the Catholic Church. For many people, this sounded like a simple disagreement between church leaders. But in reality, this is a battle over authority, a battle over tradition, a battle over the future of the Catholic Church itself. And to understand why this decision has become one of the biggest religious stories of the year, we need to travel back more than 60 years, long before Pope Leo XIV became Pope, long before today's controversy, and long before the Society of St. Pius X even existed. Because this story didn't begin yesterday. It began with one of the most revolutionary moments in modern Catholic history, the Second Vatican Council. During the early 1960s, the Catholic Church found itself standing at a crossroads. The world was changing rapidly. Technology was transforming everyday life. Television was bringing global events into people's homes. Countries were rebuilding after World War II, and younger generations were asking difficult questions about faith, authority, and the Church's role in modern society. Many church leaders believed the Catholic Church needed to engage more directly with the modern world instead of remaining distant from it. That idea led to the Second Vatican Council, often called Vatican II, a historic gathering of bishops from around the globe. The council wasn't intended to create a new religion or abandon Catholic teaching. Instead, its goal was to renew how the Church communicated its ancient faith to a rapidly changing world. The discussions lasted several years and resulted in some of the most significant reforms in modern Catholic history. One of the biggest changes involved the celebration of the Mass. For centuries, Catholics around the world attended Mass almost entirely in Latin. Priests celebrated facing the altar, while the congregation followed along in prayer books. After Vatican II, local languages became widely permitted, allowing people to hear scripture and prayers in their own language. In many churches, priests also began celebrating Mass facing the congregation to emphasize participation and understanding. Supporters believe these reforms helped millions of Catholics become more actively involved in worship. But not everyone agreed. Some Catholics believed these changes weakened centuries of sacred tradition. They feared that modernization was slowly replacing reverence with convenience and timeless customs with contemporary preferences. Among the strongest critics was a French missionary archbishop named Marcel Lefebvre. Lefebvre was highly respected in many Catholic circles. He believed the Church was moving too far away from its historical traditions, and that many post-Vatican II reforms created confusion among the faithful. Rather than quietly accepting these developments, he decided to take action. In 1970, he founded the Society of St. Pius X, the SSPX. Its mission was simple, but bold: preserve the traditional Latin Mass, maintain traditional Catholic teaching, and protect what its members believed to be the authentic heritage of the Church. At first, many Catholics saw the SSPX as a traditional movement operating within the wider Church. However, tensions between Rome and the Society gradually intensified. The Vatican insisted that Vatican II was a legitimate ecumenical council whose reforms deserved respect and obedience. The SSPX argued that some reforms represented dangerous departures from long-standing Catholic tradition. The disagreement wasn't only about language or liturgical style. It was about authority. Who has the final authority to interpret Catholic tradition? Can a Catholic reject certain reforms approved by the Pope while remaining fully obedient to the Church? Those questions have divided Catholics for decades. Over time, the SSPX became known for preserving older forms of worship that had almost disappeared elsewhere. Masses were celebrated entirely in Latin. Priests generally faced the altar rather than the congregation. Holy Communion was typically received while kneeling and directly on the tongue. Women often covered their heads during worship. The society also maintained more traditional positions on social and moral issues and remained critical of the Church's expanded dialogue with other Christian communities and other religions after Vatican II. To supporters, these practices represented faithfulness to centuries of Catholic tradition. To critics, they symbolized a refusal to accept the legitimate authority of the modern Catholic Church. For years, both sides continued an uneasy relationship. There were moments of dialogue. There were attempts at reconciliation. Several popes hoped that full unity could eventually be restored. But beneath the surface, fundamental disagreements remained unresolved. Then, a new chapter began with the election of Pope Leo XIV. When Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost became Pope Leo XIV, many Catholics expected a leader capable of balancing pastoral compassion with institutional unity. Throughout his early papacy, he emphasized that authentic renewal must always remain rooted in communion with the universal Church. At the same time, Pope Leo XIV inherited several unresolved challenges left by previous decades. One of the most sensitive was the SSPX. For years, discussions between Rome and the Society had continued with varying degrees of progress. Some observers believed reconciliation remained possible. Others believed the divide had simply become too deep. No one knew which direction Pope Leo XIV would choose. Then came an announcement that would change everything. Plans emerged for the SSPX to consecrate 4 new bishops without papal approval. To many outside the Catholic world, this might have sounded like an internal administrative decision. Inside the Church, it represented something far more serious. And once those consecrations took place, the Vatican's response would send shockwaves throughout the global Catholic community. The decision to consecrate 4 new bishops without the approval of Pope Leo XIV was not just another church ceremony. In Catholic canon law, the consecration of bishops is one of the most significant acts in the life of the Church because bishops are the successors of the apostles. They are responsible for preserving the faith, governing dioceses, and ensuring unity with the Pope, who Catholics believe is the successor of St. Peter. For that reason, the Catholic Church has long required that the consecration of bishops take place in communion with the Pope. When a bishop is consecrated against the Igrid, that the consecration of bishops take place in constivative Pius, but direct, that the bishop is consecrated against the express wishes of the Holy See. Rome sees it as more than an act of disobedience. It is viewed as a direct challenge to the Church's visible unity. According to the Vatican, Pope Leo XIV personally instructed the Society of St. Pius X not to proceed with the planned consecrations. Some observers believe his actions demonstrate a willingness to protect the institutional unity of the Church, even when doing so leads to criticism from conservative groups. Others worry that the divide between Rome and traditionalist Catholics could become even more difficult to heal. History shows that divisions within Christianity often begin with disagreements that seem impossible to resolve in the moment. Whether this becomes another permanent chapter in church history or eventually leads to reconciliation remains one of the biggest unanswered questions facing Pope Leo XIV's pontificate. One thing, however, is already clear. This story is about far more than 6 bishops. It is about the future identity of the Catholic Church itself. Will the Church find a path that preserves both unity and tradition? Or has one of the deepest internal conflicts of modern Catholicism entered an entirely new chapter? The answer may not come tomorrow, but millions of Catholics around the world will be watching closely. As this story continues to unfold, one thing has become impossible to ignore. The conflict between the Vatican and the Society of St. Pius X is no longer just an internal disagreement between church leaders. It has become a global conversation about faith, authority, tradition, and the future direction of one of the world's oldest institutions. The Catholic Church is home to more than 1.4 billion believers across every continent. Within such a diverse community, differences in culture, language, and worship are inevitable. Yet the Church has always emphasized that unity under the Pope is one of its defining characteristics. That is why this moment matters so much. For Pope Leo XIV, this is more than a legal or administrative decision. It is one of the first major tests of his leadership before the entire Catholic world. Every pope eventually faces moments that define his pontificate. Some are remembered for building bridges. Others are remembered for making difficult decisions. Whether history will remember Pope Leo XIV's response as an act of courageous leadership or as a decision that widened existing divisions is something only time can answer. At the same time, it is important to understand the perspective of many faithful Catholics who remain attached to the traditional Latin Mass. Not everyone who appreciates older forms of worship rejects the authority of the Pope. In fact, countless Catholics around the world continue to celebrate the traditional liturgy while remaining fully united with Rome. Likewise, not everyone who attends an SSPX chapel necessarily intends to reject the Catholic Church. That distinction is essential. The Vatican itself has clarified that simply attending an SSPX Mass does not automatically result in excommunication. Its concern is with those who knowingly and formally embrace a position that rejects communion with the Pope and the Church's governing authority. This reminder helps separate headlines from reality. In today's digital world, dramatic headlines often spread faster than careful explanations. A single sentence shared on social media can create confusion before the complete context is understood. That is why examining the facts carefully is more important than ever. Looking ahead, several important questions remain unanswered. Will dialogue between Rome and the SSPX eventually resume? Could future negotiations lead to reconciliation after decades of disagreement? Or has this latest confrontation created a divide that will take generations to heal? No one can honestly answer those questions today. What we do know is that history has repeatedly shown that the Catholic Church has experienced many internal crises over 2,000 years. Some conflicts lasted only a few years. Others lasted centuries. Yet throughout history, the Church has continued to wrestle with the difficult balance between preserving ancient traditions and responding to changing times. Perhaps that is the deeper lesson behind this entire story. Tradition gives a community its roots. Unity gives it its strength. When either one is weakened, difficult choices inevitably follow. The choices made today could influence the Catholic Church for decades to come. Whether this chapter ultimately leads to deeper division or renewed reconciliation remains uncertain. But one thing is beyond doubt. This is one of the defining moments of Pope Leo XIV's early papacy, and the world will continue watching every step that follows. Do you believe the Vatican made the right decision in defending church authority? Or do you think greater dialogue with the SSPX would have been a better path toward unity? Share your thoughts respectfully and join the conversation.